Hi, everybody.
Hi.
I almost wanted to say good morning, so I'm because I'm
with Stella is 100/2.
See all these people.
Interesting sounds coming out of this.
really things I've never heard before.
That's the lady that came home.
Somebody may have a fan going.
You should mute everyone unless it's time for them to talk.
Yeah,
That's perfect.
I gotta ask you, Rich, are you really in that background, or is that a fake background?
I'm in my own virtual reality.
I love it. Well, it's a great background.
that must not be coming from me. Not sure what that is. Okay, 2 o'clock on the dot. Got a couple more joining us. I will go ahead and pull up my presentation here. All right, I will keep an eye on the waiting room if we get any more participants joining us. Let's see here. Okay. They're still streaming in, so maybe I'll give it a couple more minutes. Let's see here. All right, it's been quiet for a couple moments here, so I'll go ahead and get started. So this is our 2021 budget overview. And what I've done is provided slides for each line item that has an impact of $1 or more per month. So you can see what changes have been made, and that's the scale that I'm using. Less than $1 impact per month per resident I haven't included. So anything $1 or more, I've created a slide that shows a comparison to last year and what changes were made. So I will go ahead and get started. First slide we have is salary and benefits. This line item went up 2.6% from 2020. You can see the dollar amount change there. We have kept the structure the same as last year. I think this is the first year we've kept it consistent. We've been trying out various options for staffing, and this is where we landed last year, and we're keeping it the same this year. So the increase on that was based on cost of living for all of the associates. And that includes myself as the licensed community manager. We also have an assistant community manager who is, I left off the / maintenance manager there. He has a dual role, Jeremy. Event and activities coordinator, which is now a position held by Alyssa Bennett. And then we have our 3 front desk associates. And if you do have a question, feel free to unmute yourself and I can address it. Landscaping contract. The 2020 contract was $11,900, and that included units 1 through 5. And this year, we're adding units 6 and 7, and the Regency itself has 7 units in total. So that covers the entire property. And that's front yard general maintenance, as well as all of the common areas and the clubhouse. And also the exterior perimeter landscaping. And the
Can I
monthly
ask-
cost for
can
that
you
is
explain
$31.
to me?
Oops.
Can you explain what the front landscaping is? You know, what should be the expectations of a resident?
Absolutely. So the front yard landscaping is done on a monthly rotation. We do have a rotation map, and we're meeting with landscaping tomorrow to finalize the 2021 rotation map. But their crew works in units, and it's a color-coded map that we have on the website. And the service includes weeding and blowing. We have select times that trimming or fertilization is done. And I try to give a general window of when that will be done, but it's hard to nail down on an exact day. But the rotation calendar for 2021, we're also going to include those windows that the trimming might be done or fertilization for plants. And if you should believe that your service was missed per that rotation schedule, we do have constant contact with our landscaper. We meet weekly and submit those requests that we receive. Sometimes they get to it in the same week, sometimes it's further down the road, but we do have a process that we've established. I received, I believe, an email from you, Erwin, about having submitted a request and you hadn't heard back. So we recently did establish a new chain of contact for that process. So I'm stepping back from that and handing it over, but we are experiencing some growing pains in that regard. So I am, at tomorrow's meeting, we're going to review all outstanding. We do have an internal log of work orders, so we can all see the status on those. So I'll make sure that gets addressed at our meeting tomorrow.
Thank you.
Sure.
Brittany, this is Gloria.
Hi, Gloria.
Hi, our street has not been serviced. This is the second month that it has not been serviced, and I'd rather have you tell us the schedule by street rather than by color coded, because it's hard to look at the color coded when you view it because it does not get expanded.
Okay.
So, but this is the second month they have not been here on our street.
Okay.
Brittany, where does the Beltway come into this? Because nothing's been done in 3.5 years that I've lived here.
So the Beltway is dependent on what unit you're in. So the units that are still under construction, so your unit wouldn't be considered under construction, but the units that are under construction, Toll Brothers is responsible for that plant replacement and maintenance. So there is a bit of a gray area in how that's managed, but we are in the process of turning over all of, we'll have one outstanding unit going into 2021, but it's a gradual process of turning over these sections of property to Toll Brothers and making sure that all of the plant replacements have been done and that the irrigation works as it's supposed to, and then Gothic takes over. So those
Yeah, but
back areas are a little tricky.
Maintenance whatsoever for 3.5 years. It's an eyesore.
I will have our landscaper take a look. You're on Regency Crest, is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, okay. I know Copper Sunrise is part of the space between Copper Sunrise and Regency Crest
Right.
is on the schedule for plant replacement for this month or starting in November. So we should see some updates there.
It's not the replacement that concerns me. It's just the appearance. It's awful. Everything is way overgrown.
Right. Well, I would be happy to discuss it further with you.
That's
We can
fine. I
schedule a
appreciate
time after the meeting and dig into that. Okay, so that was the landscaping contract. Flower and plant replacement for 2020, we had $208 allocated for common area plant replacement, and in 2021, that's being doubled. We do have an increased amount of landscaping that the association is responsible for as Toll Brothers turns over those units. I imagine that will continue to increase as we look at the plant material that we have and systematically replacing it. I know we've struggled with plant selection from the beginning for Regency, and as the property is developing, we're seeing what works and what doesn't. And Rich and our previous landscape committee had done quite a bit of work on proposing plant material that will do well in this area. So we hope to see that as a phased plan going forward to get plant material in that will last. And then hopefully once we get there, we won't have to continue to replace on a regular basis. Common area lighting. So we have another line item that previously included the.
Before you move on, Brittany, just,
Yes.
so landscaping, just want to make a note about landscaping. We're paying bottom prices for landscaping. We did go out to try to look to see whether we could get better value by bidding this out about 2 years ago. Most of the contractors refused to bid while our development is still under construction. The two that did bid, the prices came in on more than double than what we're paying today. So everybody's paying, we're paying about $31 a month. I think that's right about now. You figure if you're paying $60 to $70 a month, it's almost not worth having Gothic even come to your front yard. You might as well pay for it yourself. So it's a very difficult situation. And then you add in the fact that the developer, when they build out these communities, they overplant on purpose in a lot of the areas, like the Beltway, for example. We have all that green space behind the clubhouse that we have to water. And we already know, it's well documented that we don't have desert type plants. I mean, we're not, for the most part, even the horticulturists that are here in the community don't agree that we have the right plant scheme for the desert here. So we're really behind the 8 ball on the landscaping in a lot of different ways. We basically got a low bidder in here that's working our property for us. After we transition the board next spring or summer, I believe that it would be in our best interest to take a look at the overall plant scheme, what our long-term plans are as far as, do we want to continue to keep a contractor on board and pay for this kind of service that we're not happy with? Do we want to continue to do front yard landscaping or not? These are going to be questions that are going to be for the new board. So I just wanted to address the landscaping issue. It's been an issue for a while. I do plan on getting out. Well, I'm not going to walk those beltways myself, but we do need to get in to some of those beltways that have already been turned over, Brittany, and take a look and see what we can do about. We really need.
As I mentioned, we have,
these-
I know Jeremy and Jonathan have both done numerous beltway walks within the past 2 months in preparation for our plant replacement for the fall. So they've been looking at those quite a bit and what's needed. So we'll see some updates.
I'd like to see a plan for the beltways before we come up on the next planting season. So, okay, well, thanks. Just wanted to there's a lot of people on the line who haven't been here for several years and haven't had to deal with this problem. Landscaping is an issue.
So back to the common area lighting line item. This is new. We previously included these funds in a separate line item that was more of a general maintenance. So we've pulled that out to show it separately. And the monthly unit cost for that is $1 approximately. And that comes out to about $250 a month for street light bulb replacement and repair. Clubhouse supplies. This line item went down because we removed or reallocated access device purchases and made them a standalone item. So this was reduced to that equivalent, and you will see a new line item for those devices. Janitorial services. This has been a tricky one this year, considering the COVID-19 restrictions. So we had for 2020 budgeted 5 nights per week janitorial service. That's what was budgeted, but the actual service was increased pretty dramatically due to the COVID-19 restrictions and the reopening plan that the board and legal counsel approved. So that reopening plan included porter service so that we have enough hands on deck to clean the facilities in between reservations for the fitness center and pools. And so that bumped up the cost quite a bit. That excess was covered by Toll Brothers since they're subsidizing the budget right now. So when the board looked at the 2021 budget, it's anyone's guess what's going to happen with our current situation, but we are hopeful that within the first 6 months of 2021, we'll make progress and then be able to spend the latter half of the year without such extensive costs for janitorial services. So the way the board landed on this was for the first 6 months, we will maintain the COVID-19 janitorial service schedule, which is having a porter during those business hours to clean in between reservations, and then a janitorial service visit once per week for industrial type cleaning of the facilities and sanitization. The courts are cleaned every other week and power washing is done. Post-COVID, we'll be returning back to the previously budgeted schedule of janitorial service 5 times per week. That also includes the courts and power washing. And the monthly unit cost for janitorial services is $12 per month. This is the new standalone line item for the access devices or transmitters. So those were previously included under clubhouse supplies. They are now listed as gate transmitters. The pool and spa service contract for 2020, the budget was set at 3 times per week, weekly pool and spa service. When we brought on Jeremy, who's our assistant manager / maintenance person, he took on 1 day a week service. So the contract was reduced to 2 times weekly with in-between service performed by him. And that will remain the same setup for 2021. So that budget has been reduced by 20% down to $2,000 a month. Pool and spa repairs in 2020, the line item included line replacement for the chlorinators and filter maintenance. In 2021, it includes an acid wash of the pool, updated signage per the Nevada revised statutes and pool laws that have been updated within Clark County. So we have to update the signage and then additional minor repairs. And we were able to bring that down by 41%. Lifestyle supplies, this is another tricky one, given the COVID restrictions. So pre-COVID, the event budget was $1,500 per month. We have seen a reduction in events being held, but within the last month, we've seen some additional restrictions lifted. For example, the limit on outdoor, or I should say the limit on events, indoor or outdoor, has been increased to 250 persons. Social distancing still applies. So for us, we have an increase on outdoor event space. We haven't been able to increase indoor space, but outdoor capacity we have been able to. We are hoping that those restrictions continue to be lifted, that we can manage larger capacity events indoors. We'll see where we land, but for 2021, we're taking the same approach as janitorial, which is 6 months with the restrictions and 6 months without. So the first part of the year includes 50% of the lifestyle budget, assuming that we will not be able to hold as many events or as many large scale events because of these restrictions. And then the latter half of the year, returning to the normal budget of $1,500, and that averages out to $1,125 per month at a monthly unit cost of $2 per homeowner. Repair and maintenance other is down by 50% due to the street light bulb repair and replacement being reallocated to a standalone line item. So this includes miscellaneous maintenance expenses.
A question.
Uh-huh.
So your monthly unit cost, how many monthly units are you using for that division?
So this is based on 457 units, or a completely built out community. So for all of the units that have not been sold, that's the portion that Toll subsidizes. They do not subsidize on an assessment basis, but on an expense basis. So whatever our actual expenses are that aren't covered by monthly assessments, they pay the difference. But it's not per unit, it's whatever that difference is.
Yeah, that will,
based
that
on
will be-
457 units, and that's what you're using to divide to bring us to this monthly unit cost.
Yes.
Okay. I just want to
Right.
make sure I understood. Thank you.
Yeah, that's been that way since day one. It's a part of the budgetary process. It's always been built. The budget's been always built on 400, well, it used to be 458 until they reduced it to
Yeah.
457. When we reach 75% of build out, which is 342 closed homes, then Toll will be paying for every unsold lot, and the subsidy agreement will be terminated. So then we'll basically be on our own. So we have to be living within our budgetary means at that point going forward.
Understood. Thank you.
Next, we have water usage, community water usage for all of our common areas. That includes the clubhouse, entryway, front and back gate entryways, and the green spaces we have throughout, as well as the landscaping strip that's our loop, our Regency loop that goes around the community. The HOA pays for a portion of the water that goes around front yards. It's an interesting setup, as we all know, as all those homeowners that live on that loop know. So this water cost includes that. And the budgeted water amount started off high because we didn't know what to expect as the various units were added to the community. So what we have budgeted this year is based on actuals plus 15%, and we're hoping we can stay within that with the addition of the units 5 and 6. Unit 7, we're imagining is going to be a very low cost unit since it's only housing there and no major common areas, and there is no loop road included in unit 7, so it should be very minor in that area. So we are down 30% there based on our historical data. The sewer, we have the quarterly community sewer fee projected increase of 3%. Gas has been increased by 10% based on actuals. Dues and subscriptions, this is a new line item. We have various subscriptions used in various areas of the clubhouse as far as management and administrative tasks go. So in order to keep better track of those items, we have included them in a single line item. And this includes all subscription-based applications and dues that are utilized by the team. So Adobe PDF, Costco membership for all of the clubhouse supplies, a Zoom subscription to host meetings such as this, and a handful of others. Pandora is one that we have, a Pandora business subscription for the music in the clubhouse. So this brings those all together into a monthly fee there. Copies. So we are seeing that as our membership grows, so does our mailing fees. So copies includes our third-party printing charges for community-wide mailers, which is labeled as copies because it includes copies of documents, but that cost is done for our community-wide mailers. That task is performed by a third party. So we have third-party printing charges. Postage charges are included in a separate line item, but copies increased the most this year. And we will most likely see that continue to grow as the community continues to grow. Unfortunately, we're tied to legislation, which requires that we send out community mailers for certain items. So we're hoping that the law will eventually catch up with technology someday so that we can email these documents instead of having to pay to print and post them and stuff them into envelopes. But we're not sure when that will happen. When it does happen, we will see this cost go away. So. Computers and servers, this line item is for the individual computer stations at the clubhouse. We had 3 budgeted for 2020, and then when we added the dual role of assistant manager, we added an additional PC for Jeremy to use. That includes the Office 365 subscription and IT service or support. Legal fees, this year, 2020, we budgeted approximately 5 hours annually. For 2021, that has been increased to 1 hour per month or 12 hours annually. And this was based on a board decision or discussion as we look at transitioning the community to full homeowner control. There will be questions that come up. And in addition to that, the COVID-19 restrictions have the community utilizing legal counsel more than ever in determining what is the best course of action and what we need to implement in order to remain open. So legal counsel has been an integral part of that process. So that was increased for those reasons. The reserve transfer is based on the reserve study. We have a 2020 reserve study, and the budgeted amount was $25,100 for 2021. We do have an updated study. So the 2020 reserve study transfer amount was based on an older version. Now we have an updated version for 2021 for the reserve study, and that recommended transfer amount is $25,500 per month. So that's what's been budgeted there. And this is a categorization of the budget. So we break it down into these sections: salary and benefits, landscaping, repairs and maintenance, utilities, community safety, which is our gate attendants, administrative, taxes and insurance, and reserve transfer. You can see the totals on the right side, and that brings the total monthly cost to $260 per unit. I did want to touch on, in your budget packet, on the last page, there was listed under the reserves a list of expenses that were included in the reserve study to be performed for 2021. The items listed are suggestions per the reserve study, what should be coming of age and needing repairs, but the board will ultimately decide what action needs taken. So it's very common for these items to be listed for repair, and then the board takes a look at the items in person and determines if it actually needs done. Sometimes it's in perfect health, sometimes it does need to be done. So I and Jeremy are reviewing these items with the board this latter half of the year, and we'll be determining what needs done and what doesn't need done. So these are recommendations based on the reserve study. What the actual expenses are going to vary based on what the board approves.
Real quick question on that, Brittany, is the list of the 2021 reserve recommendations, is that on track to be discussed the next drumbeat?
Yep.
It's on the agenda?
Yeah.
Okay.
So if anybody has any questions for me, I'm ready.
So Brittany, that means, I guess you didn't say, but the amount of homeowners fees going up $10, correct?
Yes. Yes, the monthly unit cost is $260 for 2021, and in 2020 it was $250.
Didn't we have some savings during this time, or it was taken up, whatever savings we had during the COVID was allocated to the expenses for extra cleaning? Is that what happened?
Yes, a lot of that was eaten up. I don't know if in total, if there actually was any savings based on the increase in the janitorial services. And we also, in the beginning, did a couple of deep cleanings at $3,000 a piece to sanitize the facilities before they were opened. But that being said, the way the budget works while we're under developer control, as I mentioned previously, the developer doesn't pay per lot, they pay whatever the shortfall is, because we have a shortage of homeowners. So there is no money left in the bank, so to speak. Even if we were in a situation where there were savings, we wouldn't actually see the savings because Toll Brothers only pays the difference in expenses between homeowner assessments and what the actual expenses are. So they don't write a check for, X amount of units each month. It's whatever the actual expenses are.
So do you feel like when we're under the residents, homeowners, Toll Brothers being not part of it, that we should see savings?
I think it really depends on what happens with the COVID situation. Once we're under homeowner control, there's going to be a more substantial impact because we won't have the developer to pay any difference. And for example, with the janitorial, the homeowners would be having to pay for any overages in the janitorial services to be open. So what we're seeing nationwide is a lot of communities like Regency aren't opening at all. They're just keeping their facilities closed so that their homeowners don't have to pay excessive fees to be open. It really depends on where this goes. If we're free of these restrictions, I think we should stay on track and be okay. We might want to increase the lifestyle budget for 2022 if we're back to normal and able to host those events like we used to. But it's anyone's guess right now, so we'll see.
I'm thinking, from a long-term perspective, looking, post-toll, when we're fully built out, one of the big major things that we're going to have to address as a community is security. How we're going to actually implement policy on the back gate, whether we're going to have egress and ingress or whether it's going to be exit only. But then beyond that, we do have quite a number of single women that live here that are concerned about the security. And I don't have a preference on this, but we're going to probably be talking about the possibility of an all-night roving patrol or a roving patrol that's here 24/7 to do security and traffic control, speeding, that kind of business. So these are things that the future board and the community is going to have to look at in terms of, what is the future budget actually going to look like? And then, of course, the COVID issue is just, it's been driving everybody's costs. So it's really been a double whammy for Regency in that we actually have less access to our amenities, less use. There's no hand weights in the gym. And then on top of that, we have to pay for all the extra cleaning. So obviously nobody's happy about that at all. So we would love to just get back to normal routine operations. And then, if that does happen, then, there's some money in the budget if we go back to the regular cleaning that we could use either in some other area that we need it, or it depends on what the future community wants to do. We're going to be looking at the different contracts that we have in the next year, 2 years to 3 years in terms of, security company, the landscaping company, and some of these other major contracts that we have, looking for better value, right? So the responsibility of the board is to be doing that all the time. And we really don't have much control over that until we actually become a homeowner board. which is going to hopefully happen by May or June of next year at the latest. So I hope that kind of provides a little bit more perspective as to what Carol and I are thinking anyway. I mean, because we're the only two homeowner board members here. And I know she's not online, and she would probably weigh in and say the same things that I am about where we're going to look at in the future. I mean, we're not interested in seeing these kind of increases every year. I mean, we'd like to see us get to where we want to be as a community, and we can't even figure that out yet until after we're a homeowner board. We have 5 homeowner board members, so that's when we'll start, narrowing it down and figuring out where we want to be in terms of landscaping, security, cleanliness, management, the whole 9 yards. So that's where we're currently at. We're still, in terms of maturity, we're just starting to walk. Okay, I'm done talking now.
So are you saying that until we become full-fledged rather than at 75, we still don't have any full say of how we want to run the homeowners?
No, that's not true. I mean, once we're a full 5-member homeowner board, the developer still has some rights that we can't violate in terms of them being able to access the community, continue to build and that. But in terms of the budget itself, we'll have control over that prior to full build out. I think the board might be a little bit hesitant to move forward with any big major changes when we're just at 75%. We might want to wait until we have a full community on board so we can hear everyone's voice, a full build out voice. But as of 75%, when we take ownership of the board, it'll be the homeowner board that decides what this budget is. So no, we'll have total control. It's just, what is the new board going to want to do? How much more, how much change are they going to want to make, and how fast are they going to want to make it? Right. And I would be conservative on that. I wouldn't be off rushing into major changes. I'd let the new board settle in for a while and figure out where it is. Make sure that we're listening to the boards are listening to the community before we go forward making those kind of changes. If that makes sense.
Okay, thanks.
You're muted, Brittany.
Sorry about that. I'm not seeing any other hands popping up. So if we don't have any other comments, we can go ahead and sign off. I'm excited to see so many participants. I can tell you we have 23 people on the call. So thanks so much for joining us. And again, if you have any questions that pop up after the meeting,
before you move on, when is the actual budget? Isn't there another meeting here?
There is that's a good point to bring up. So there is a budget ratification meeting on the calendar. And just to explain what that is. So the way the law works in Nevada is that a board has to approve a budget in the fall, and then that budget gets mailed to all homeowners. And then if the homeowners are in disagreement with the budget, over half of the community or majority of the community have to attend the budget ratification meeting and physically vote to reject it. So the budget ratification meeting is the homeowner's opportunity to gather the majority, attend, and vote against it. And that would trigger the process to start over again. And the board would go back to the drawing table and present another budget and then mail it out, and the same process would continue. I've never seen a budget overturned. So generally, in my experience, the budget meeting, I call it to order. It's technically considered a members meeting because it is the members' opportunity to reject that budget. So typically I'll call the meeting to order, and there won't be a majority of homeowners in attendance. So the budget is then ratified by default because we don't have a majority there to reject it. And that's it. So board members are not required to attend that meeting. Again, it's that majority number that has the opportunity to take action. And if they do not, then the budget is considered ratified for 2021.
What date is that again?
That's on the
Coming up.
17th, November 17th.
Okay. And anyone that's online here that's interested in running for the board, when we reach 75%, all 5 seats will be open for competition. So we're looking forward to the other, to having a full homeowner board in place next summer. I think it'll be really great for the community to make that transition.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Feel free to reach out and we'll talk soon.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.